Trading has closed on June 6, 2022. We always start with our disclaimer. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, Tuesday, the 7th of June. Remember, I can be completely wrong. All trades should be at your own risk. Let's go over our calls. Look, we said we had mixed signals. The commonest thing would be a gap and a prompt move outside the day's range. So we got that. I thought that this was a rejection of the highs. I thought the odds favored we would move down, but I said if we didn't move down right from the open, I wasn't wedded to the idea. We gapped up and that killed that idea before the open. This is just a review of what we said. If we don't drop pretty much from the open, don't stay wedded. Common's a gap and prompt move outside the range. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high. During the day, MEJT identified this move as false, said we retrace, go under this line, which is what we did. Well, I considered Friday's move a rejection of this new high. All we need to confirm any move is to trade under the close of this day by 1 cent. But that never happened. I don't think it did. This close was 41.0854. Never quite closed it. So it hasn't been confirmed. Right now we've had 2 straight days of dropping all day. And all we've accomplished is filling this strong move up. We haven't taken out any of these new lows. In fact, we've made higher and higher lows. But we still are closing under all these highs, giving us conflict, which tends to be resolved by gapping smartly tomorrow. Now this is a pattern which usually closes at the day's high. That didn't happen. When that happens, it should lead to further declines. The catch is what counts isn't today's close, but tomorrow's open. So if we gap up tomorrow, overtake this high, all this negativity goes away. Don't forget, here's a wall with gap. These don't have to fill promptly, but most often, not every time by a long shot, most often we'll fill this gap by tomorrow's open. So even though we're down a fraction as I'm recording this, we can't say it's impossible that we gap and take this high out, even though it's about 56 handles away. I'm not saying it will happen, but that's one possibility. The other possibility is to have a straight line drop. It certainly is possible that that's the straight line drop, but that pattern usually closes near its lows, and that didn't happen. We dropped all day, couldn't take out these lows. Now again, what counts isn't today's close, but tomorrow's open. We open down here, all that positivity goes away. So I'm looking for a strong move, a big gap tomorrow. I think you can make a case for either direction. Well, here are the dates. Oh, this date I miscalculated. One date is today and tomorrow. One date's June 13, one day is June 18th. None of these days have to mark close, but if there is a panic low, there's a good chance it'll be on one of these days with some leeway, a few days. I was hoping one of these days would work. We've stopped right at resistance, but so far, instead of reversing right from resistance, we've stalled. If we gap over resistance, which hasn't happened, but if we gap over resistance, that could lead to a very powerful move higher. Doesn't mean we will, just introduces an element of risk into being short. We've counted this as a complete pattern with don't know the degree, but let's see what's happened since that pattern completed. Well, we counted this as 5 waves up, but there's nothing against this still being in the third wave. I mean, this could be 1 of 3. This could be 2 of 3. If we gap up smartly, we could have a huge third wave higher. Doesn't mean we will, but we think this low is going to hold here. And until we reverse with authority, you can't really rule that out. Let's look at the count here. Well, this was the count I had. It's not the only count, but that's A and that's B. You can count 5 waves down. You can count 3 waves up. So with that count, you should be in the last wave, which, if it's complete, doesn't have a Fibonacci relationship between light blue C and light blue A, which makes me think that if that's the right count, probably isn't complete, but that's not the only count. You can count this other ways. What if blue A ended here? You can count this as an A, B, C with good fibs for B. You can count 5 waves down, 3 waves up, and 3 waves down for C. And if that's the count, which we don't know, then wave A is exactly equal to wave C. So, but if this is the right count, which we don't know, you just completed an ABC, we could have another strong impulsive move higher. And of course, we won't know if that's the right count until tomorrow, but at least it's a possible count. Well, tomorrow's pattern here has the early high. We could still gap down. Today's pattern should have ended either with a strong rally into the close, path A, or a straight line drop, which is path B. Now, path A didn't happen, but if we gap up and promptly overtake the high of day, that's good enough. Path B might have happened, but the pattern should have closed near today's low, and instead we closed over intraday lows. If we gap down tomorrow and promptly undercut today's low, that's good enough. 2 days of falling prices haven't been able to achieve a close under recent lows, and Larry Williams' usually reliable sell signal failed. When signals fail, regardless of what they are, there tends to be a strong move in the other direction. So I'm kind of suspicious here when that thing failed. We hit resistance a few days ago, and rather than reverse with conviction, we've stalled. This increases the chances we'll break through resistance at some time. I think we'll have a sizable gap at tomorrow's open. If it's higher, it should take us substantially higher. If it's lower, I think last month's high is going to hold. I don't think guessing is my strong suit, and I can really explain a move in either direction. But because Friday's negative pattern didn't follow through, we at least have to be open to the possibility of gapping over this high. But of course, if we gap down, we're not going to cross our fingers and hope we'll go higher. I think the open's going to tell the story tomorrow. It's the pattern with the early high. And if we drop down, I still think last month's low is going to hold. But if we break through this, especially with sentiment readings being as they are, with a huge preponderance of negative sentiment, if we gap over this high, we could be in a third wave higher. And that's something we won't know until tomorrow. It's a pattern with the early high, and that's today's call.